Hello. So there's one thing that I'm good at doing besides reading and writing, and that is buying books. So here are some of the last books that I bought. And I bought quite a few of them, and I'm going to go book shopping again in about 2 days from now. So I need to do this video before the books get too high. So the first one is On Politics. I saw this book, and I got it for literally dirt cheap. It was like $2. And it should easily be like a $20 book. But it's basically a political history book, I believe. So it goes over like Plato, Herodotus, Herodotus, I don't know how to say it. Augustine, Aquinas. Basically goes all over like the big political thinkers over history. That's what it does. And I'm super excited to read it, especially because it's a very thick and long book. The Penguin History of Economics. So this was also a cheap book. I saw it. I was like, well, I should buy it because why not? That's what a book nerd does, right? See a book, you might as well just take money out of your wallet and give it to the publisher. It's the natural state of affairs. Okay, so the ancient world, the Middle Ages, science, politics, trade, 17th century. So basically, like, how economics has changed over time. That's kind of super cool. A lot of the economics books I own are very math heavy. Because I tend to read econometrics, so that'll be like a nice alternative, some qualitative economics. The Anglo-Saxons. I watched a television show called The United Kingdom, or The Last Kingdom. I think it was The Last Kingdom, which is based off a fiction book, a 3-volume series, and that 3-volume series is based off of this time period, the Anglo-Saxons, basically the beginning of England. In the TV show, there's this king named King Alfred who wants to unite the 4 kingdoms, like Northumbria, Wessex, some other one, and East Anglia. Mercia and East Anglia, right? He wanted to unite these 4 kingdoms to create England. And the fiction books, or the 3 volumes, take place in that time period with the Dane invasion. And this book is a nonfiction history of that specific time period. I was looking for that specific time period in particular, and I found one. So everyone says the book is great as well. The Utility of Force. I got this book because, one, it was cheap. Again, it was like $2, $3. Extremely cheap. And it's basically new. Yeah. I mean, it says it's a $30 book in Canada, so I don't know. Maybe I got a good book market. Anyways, The Utility of Force, The Art of War in Modern World. I feel like the problem with reading this book is I'm going to agree with everything it says. Yes, force is useful. And there are different ways of using it, but maybe this will go over case examples, which would be cool. And anyway, I'm going to read it. So, The Orthodox Church, An Introduction to Eastern Christianity. So I have a history of Christianity, history of Judaism, history of Islam, history of the Bible even. And since Eastern Christianity is unique, and I had just finished reading the Balkans, history book in the Balkans by Misha Glenny, I decided to get this as well. And so I will read about it. I don't have any interest actually in religious history. I just feel like an educated person should actually know a little bit about it. So, Inventing the Individual Origins of Western Liberalism. I couldn't find out whether I had this book or not. I checked my app. It said I didn't have it. But I've definitely considered buying this book before. I think it'll be an interesting thesis. I'm not sure if I'm going to agree with the book, but I think it'll be an interesting set of ideas nonetheless. A History of Warfare. So I got this because, again, it was reasonably priced. And that's the only reason. I have a few books in the history of warfare, but this will be another complement as well. So that's good. Let's see, what does it even go over? I actually don't even know what it goes over. Okay, well, flesh, stone, fire, iron. That's not helpful. Keegan's a good author, so I'm not too worried about it, even if you disagree with him. Fermat's Last Theorem. I have Simon Singh. That's her name. I don't know if that's how you say his name. I don't know. I have a few of his books, and I decided to get this one because, I mean, I don't know if I said this, but I'm currently going over mathematics from the foundations to, let's say, more advanced stuff without using a calculator. I'm going through all my old textbooks without using a calculator. And I'm trying to basically do like 150 exercises per each problem again. Again, no calculator involved. So this will be maybe like a good, if I need a break from doing math, read this instead. Yeah, that's the reason why I got it. Frontline Turkey, The Conflict at the Heart of the Middle East. This book, I'm almost guaranteed not to agree with it. But the thesis of this book is that the Kurdish question, or the issues involving the Kurds, are at the core of every problem in the Middle East, and they're deeply involved with every conflict. You could say the same thing about like America and Russia. It tend to be at the core of like the Cold War logic is at the core. Or you could say like Sunni Shia is at the core of every Middle Eastern issue. But I have never heard anybody say that the Kurds were there at the core of every Middle Eastern issue. And so I got this book because I think it has an interesting claim, not because I'm going to agree with it. An Introduction to Statistical Thermodynamics. Going to be honest with you, I have no interest in thermodynamics at the moment, but I do like the idea of going through a book heavy in equations and using the equations to explain concepts, even if I'm not particularly interested in thermodynamics itself. And because I decided, well, I could have done like actuarial sciences as well, but I'm a bit more familiar with that stuff, and I figured, well, I'll do this instead. But this will take me some time to go through. Yeah, so I got that book. So, The Cultural Revolution, Frank Dikötter. This is a 3-volume series, actually. So it's this. So Mao's face is on the side. So we have The Cultural Revolution, A People's History of 1962 to 1976. Obviously, this is the great cultural catastrophe. The history of China's most devastating catastrophe, Mao's Great Famine. This is obviously the Great Leap Backwards. And then the Tragedy of Liberation, A History of the Chinese Revolution, 1945 to 1957. Did I read these dates in backwards? Yeah. I think this is the Great Leap Forwards. This is the Great Leap Backwards. No, this is the Great Leap Backwards. And this is probably the conclusion. Yeah. Dikötter is a great writer, and because of that, I actually bought his other book, China After Mao. Figured, well, he has a book about China After Mao as well, so let's just consider this the 4th volume of his series and read this as well. The Rise of Cyber Warfare. I think this book actually will be terrible. Not terrible, that's not fair. I think this book will be like a 3.5 out of 5, but I'll read it because I want to write a book about the future, like futurism and future issues. And I have like a stack on my bookshelf of like 35 books that I want to go through to get some background information and prepping in order to do that. The Penguin History of the 20th Century. I was not looking for this, but when Amazon recommended it to me, I was like, okay, I need to get this. Basically, 20th century. Basically everything from is it 1908 is when the 20th century begins? I think so, right? Where's the TOC? There we go. White Man's World, Shape of Things to Come. So it goes over racism, United States of America, distribution of wealth. I believe it goes over the nuclear, Cold War era, Europe as a system of power. Basically, just goes over every major event that has happened in the 20th century, which I thought was super cool. I don't find too many history books like that. The Fall of Yugoslavia. So I read another book. It's actually here. This book, The Balkans. It's Misha Glenny. And it basically goes over all the different Balkan nations and gives a history of them. And he has another book, The Fall of Yugoslavia. He actually has a few books I want to get. And The Fall of Yugoslavia is going to be quite interesting because Yugoslavia might arguably be the only state that was implementing socialism successfully. So, and I mean socialism properly, not like social democracy. The Fall of Yugoslavia. Yeah, this would be an interesting book to read. Now, the last two books are part of a series, The Three-Body Problem. Death's End, I think, is the conclusion, and The Dark Forest is part 2. They are turning this into a Netflix series, and I need to read these. But this is like 2 weeks of reading, maybe 3 weeks of reading. They're kind of thick. Even the Three-Body Problem, like it took me like 4 days, 5 days to read. And this one's kind of thick. So this is probably going to take me like 7 days to read, right? This is kind of thick. Anyways, those are the books I bought recently. I'm going to go book shopping again in like 2 days. But that won't be a video anytime soon. And with that being said, bye-bye.